My name is Lee, and I narrate the near-death experiences of those who have glimpsed the other side. If you enjoy these stories, please consider hitting the thumbs up, subscribing, and turning on notifications to stay updated. Doing so is free and helps the channel grow. Get comfortable, grab a drink, and let's dive into today's experience. I had a near-death experience 15 years ago. I've rarely spoken about it, largely because of the circumstances surrounding what happened. But now, after years of reflection and putting the pieces together, I feel ready to share my story. What I experienced wasn't random. It was a wake-up call to get me back on track with my soul's purpose. Looking back, I realize I received several warnings before things escalated to that point, but I was too stubborn to listen. One of those warnings came while I was at work one evening. I had recently been promoted and was sitting at my desk, overlooking the busy stretch of I-95. In my mind, I was doing well. I had clawed my way up the corporate ladder, proving wrong anyone who doubted me. I grew up in the inner city, surrounded by violence, and many people I went to high school with weren't expected to succeed. Some teachers barely tried. I was a mother at a young age, and I still remember my own mother's reaction when she found out I was pregnant. She looked at me with disappointment and said, "You're a statistic." Her words stung deeply, but I couldn't blame her. I had let myself down too. So that promotion wasn't just a career milestone, it was proof. Proof that I wasn't defined by my circumstances. Sitting at my desk, I leaned back, propped my feet up, and let myself bask in the moment. Not bad for a chick from the hood, I thought. That's when it happened. Is this what you think you came here to do? The voice was clear and distinct, but it wasn't mine. It was a woman's voice, yet it came from inside me. I froze. The office was empty, and the question didn't make sense. Was I losing my mind? Was I hearing things? You were a warrior in a previous life. This is not what you came here to do, the voice continued. I sat in stunned silence, listening. The voice felt ancient and wise, carrying an authority that demanded my full attention. You are nothing more than a hamster on a wheel. In an instant, everything changed. My pride deflated, and I felt an overwhelming wave of disappointment in myself. Just moments earlier I was celebrating. Now I was questioning everything. For the first time, I realized I wasn't happy. I had been living my life to please others, to prove them wrong, but I had never stopped to ask myself what I truly wanted. I was climbing a ladder that leaned against the wrong wall. That moment was the beginning of a chain reaction I couldn't stop. At the time, I was in a strained marriage. My husband and I shared a common history of pain and hardship, but we had little else in common. To escape the tension at home, I buried myself in work. We also started spending time with one of my coworkers and her husband, partying together on weekends. At first, we drank and occasionally smoked marijuana, but as time went on, things escalated. They introduced us to ecstasy. I avoided it at first, but eventually I gave in. It's something I'm not proud of, and it's a major reason I've hesitated to share my story. But it's part of the truth. One night, I took half an ecstasy pill along with my usual rum and coke. The night passed uneventfully, but I couldn't shake the regret. By morning I was still awake, carrying on as if everything was normal. I made breakfast for my kids, cleaned the house, and tried to ignore the growing sense of unease. But by the afternoon I felt different. It wasn't normal tiredness, it was something deeper, heavier. A part of me knew something was wrong. I tried to push through, cleaning obsessively to distract myself. But eventually, I gave in and crawled into bed. As soon as I lay down, my body felt strange. My heartbeat slowed unnaturally, and I became hyper-aware of everything happening inside me. I could feel my blood sluggishly moving through my veins, each breath becoming more labored until it all stopped. The silence was deafening. The next thing I knew, I was looking down at my body. I saw myself curled up on the bed, motionless. Confusion overwhelmed me. How was I seeing this? Was I dead? Before I could process what was happening, everything around me dissolved into complete darkness. There was no light, no sound, nothing. I didn't feel fear or panic. Instead, it was as if I had ceased to exist. Yet I was still somehow aware of myself. Time felt irrelevant. I don't know how long I remained in that void before I felt it, a presence. At first it was distant, but it drew closer, surrounding me. It didn't feel threatening. Quite the opposite. I felt cradled, as if I were being held in the most profound, unconditional love imaginable. It was pure, overwhelming, and unlike anything I had ever experienced. Words can't capture the depth of that feeling. It was as if I were home. The presence began communicating with me, not with words, but through understanding. "Are you sure?" it asked. "I'm so tired," I responded. "What about your children?" I hesitated. Somehow I knew they would be okay. But then came another question. "What about your mother?" With that, an awareness struck me. My mother would be devastated, not just by my death, but by the details surrounding it. She would carry the shame and the pain, blaming herself for not saving me. That realization jolted me like lightning. In an instant, I was back in my body. The contrast was overwhelming. My body felt heavy and constricted, like I had been stuffed into a too small space after experiencing infinite freedom. Pain surged through me, my back ached, my head throbbed, and my entire body felt weak. I struggled to move, eventually pulling myself up to go to the bathroom. Each step felt monumental. Something was wrong, but I couldn't stop thinking about the love I had just experienced. It lingered in my soul, even as my body screamed in discomfort. I called my mother to tell her I loved her. I didn't tell her what happened, but I needed her to know. Later, I went to the hospital and was diagnosed with a double kidney infection. While the doctors treated me, my mind wrestled with the enormity of what I had experienced. Was it a dream? A hallucination? Deep down I knew it wasn't. It was more real than anything I had ever known. That experience changed me forever. It was a wake-up call, one that forced me to confront my choices and redirect my life. I was given a second chance, and I don't take that lightly. Thank you for listening to my story. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Stay safe and be blessed.